Welcome back to Database Forensics Day 3. Today we are going to continue on how data solves crimes in large organizations. This is going to be a 6-slide presentation with EVODIA. Today we will be talking about forensics, reconstruction of database, and it's divided into 2 parts. For this section we are going to be looking at deletion. Given that in a company we have $12,000 overpayment and the HR department claims that nothing was deleted. Deletion can be further separated into 2 parts. We have logical deletion and physical deletion. The logical deletion is just simply hiding, where you carry out or you perform a task and the system or the database simply says yes. Meanwhile, the actual data that was supposed to be deleted has just been hidden or pushed aside. Meanwhile, for physical deletion, the data is actually deleted. This one is more harder and more riskier to data forensics. Now, the core concepts of before looking into deletions, we are going to look at the core concepts. We are going to have the select, the update, the delete, and the drop. Now, the select function is just simply reading the data table. What is found in the database? You simply use the select command to see the data in the database. For example, the example that we have here is select from payroll. The database is named payroll. When you simply write this command, you're going to have the database payroll. You'll see that in the following slides. So now looking at the next command is update. In update is logical deletion, and what it simply does is it modifies the data. It falls under DML, that is database manipulation language. Data manipulation language. So it's simple. What it simply does is it removes the data space, it changes the status of that field, so delete. Meanwhile, the delete section simply deletes the entire data. It deletes the data, but it doesn't change the structure of the data. Meanwhile, the drop command completely deletes the entire data. This one is more riskier. It completely changes the structure. Nothing is left for the database. So now this is the command. What the update simply does, it modifies the existing role. Meanwhile, the data stays in place. It is logical. How do you try it? You simply check the status. Select from table where the status is deleted. You simply see the data that was updated. This is the part in which fraudsters mostly use to change database or to scam from database. Meanwhile, the delete function or the delete command simply removes the row from the database. Meanwhile, the data structure remains. This one falls under physical deletion, and we cannot retry this one quickly or directly, like how you can simply input a select command to get the updated data that was deleted. For this section, you have to check the audit logs, and install also backups. That's if there was active backup. Now for the drop is the most riskiest. It simply deletes the entire table. And the difference with the drop is, in as much as it deletes the entire table, it leaves trace in the database, like it causes back entries like logs, because it is very, very destructive. So even if the data is gone, you can simply trace who touched the data, when the command was run, and from there you can actually see the intent in which the data was actually destroyed. Now you see now the similarities between the databases. They are all of them fall under data either under data manipulation language or data definition language. Data manipulation language data definition language is actually building the database, just like you're building a house. Meanwhile, data manipulation language is just modifying the database. For data manipulation language, it's like arranging search lists in the house, furniture in the house. That's all about data manipulation language. Now for data definition language, it has 4 components. We have the create, the alter, the drop, and the tourniquet. The create is just creating. Audit is modifying. The main aspect of this section that we are going to be focusing on is on the drop, which actually destroys or deletes the entire table that you're trying to erase. While for the data manipulation language, we have the insert, update and the delete command. Now, this is a simple example where we create a database called a database table and we call it TL table. Now we have the employer name, the employer ID, the employer name, and the salary. Now, just the int, these are just data types you see them in the following slides with upcoming links. So now instead the values for these tables, listen. Now we execute a particular command. The first command that we are executing here is select. When we select, we just select the table row. We are selecting this. So what it does is it returns this table. So this is what it has actually returned all these values in the table. As long as the code is correct, it's going to run and it has returned all the values in the table. That's what the select simply does. It reads what's in the table. What's not there, it doesn't read. If it's there, it simply reads. Now we go to the next command, which is the delete command. What does the delete command do? It removes the data from the table, but it allows the structural component of the table, unlike drop, which actually clears everything. So when you execute the delete command, delete from table payroll, where employer ID is 103, as you can see it here, 103 Charlie, $9,100. When we execute this command, when we execute the SQL command, you see that, and we run this command, you see that it's no longer present. You see that it's no longer present here. Once we execute delete from table payroll, where employer ID is 103, when you execute this command, this role is no longer there. This entire role is no longer there. So we are only going to be left with this. When we return, this is what is going to be left. Now, for the next command we are going to be looking at is the update command. This is the initial select. When you select the payroll, this is the payroll, the table that is there. Once you initiate update, what you do with update is you change the status of that particular row. You change the status. So when you change the status, you set the status of this ID. This is the ID. This is the row we are changing. You set the status to delete. So once you set the status to delete, it's not going to appear again. Once you run the command, it's not going to be there again, because you have already set the status, you have updated the table, and you have set the status of this entire row to delete. So it's not going to be found when you run the code. This is all that is going to be there. But it has not been, it is just hidden, because this one is logical. It's actually still there. That is why we will see it down here. Now when you run the drop command, when you run the drop table, it just drop table TDF. You just drop the entire table. Once you drop the entire table, and you try to run the select command, you say that does not exist, because you have stripped or you have completely destroyed the table. So the table is no longer there anymore. So for the update, you can select, when you select table row where status is deleted, like you can actually look for this table that was deleted. This is the table. This is the table row, the row that was deleted. Now, if you do an update and you run this command, this entire command, ID, employer name, salary from table row where status is active, this is the table section that is going to be present. Table. Meanwhile, this section is the delete section. You can use this to trace all those footsteps. You can see the table that was deleted, and you can see which one is still active. You can see the modifications that were there. But meanwhile, for the drop, we have to use cravings. Like we have to look at the binary codes on the disk. You cannot get this one directly. Meanwhile, for the delete, you can use the logs and the backups. But for the update, you just do a simple single query, and you can get the actual data that was deleted. That's also we have delete, update, and drop. The most destructive is drop, but it's not really that destructive, because in as much as it is very destructive, you can still get the code directly from the drive. I think we should get the slides. The slides are easier. Next week we are going to start writing these codes and you see how they actually function. Thank you. I'll see you next week. Oh, tomorrow is Friday. See you on Friday.